Hi guys and girls, welcome to another YouTube video from DarkTide Fly Fishing. My name is Jack Lotter and today I'm going to take you through how to make your own knotless, not too kinky titanium nickel trace system, which can be used from tigerfish all the way to barracuda and mackerel. Please be sure to hit like and subscribe and ensure that you turn those post notifications on for future videos. Thanks for joining. For years, people have been fishing with tried and tested tooth-proof wire systems for toothy fish. I do a lot of fishing for tigerfish, and I know that these systems and haywire twists and swivel systems and things like that have been around for ages. They're very effective, they do work, but they come with a plethora of drawbacks. Obviously, with the development of technology and some of the newer, later and greater materials that we have available at our disposal, a company by the name of Not Too Kinky, which is now distributed by Scientific Anglers, have come up with a nickel titanium wire that has a plethora of benefits over your standard tooth-proof wire. Although they market themselves as a knotable wire, we at DarkTide, who enjoy over-engineering the process, have found that the knots don't seat as effectively. So what we've done is we've come up with a crimp system that was developed on the back of some advice from some friends of ours. And what we have here is a fully knotless system that makes it very easy to interchange your flies, lures, or your artificial baits, or your baits, and to do so without stabbing yourself in the finger perpetually with a haywire twist. And what we do, what we feel that we've got here is that we've got a system that is far less conspicuous for waters that are heavily pressured, fish that might be a little bit more wary. We've got the wire itself doesn't flash nearly as much or reflect as much light as your standard tooth-proof wires, in addition to the fact that this particular wire has an incredible reflex action. It's got a great stretch reflex action, and when it is subject to a lot of tensile pressure, it tends to revert back to its original integrity, not unlike a proverbial shock absorption system, which a lot of people know and associate with a bimini twist. So we've been using this for the last couple of seasons to very, very, very good effect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break down piecemeal and step by step how you can create these traces. And thereafterwards, we're going to do a video where I'm going to demonstrate the breaking strength and tensile strength of the system, so you as the angler can have that much needed confidence and peace of mind that when you are using this rig, it is bulletproof, so to speak, and you can fish with relative impunity at the risk of tackle failure or the likes. The biggest drawback to the tooth-proof wire is its propensity to kink. This is a big issue because obviously as soon as that wire starts to kink, the strength and the integrity of that wire starts to get compromised, notwithstanding the fact that the presentation in the water, the sink rate, and the fact that that kink might actually spin that fly or that artificial bait in the water, which will twist your leader. This is not good at all. So the great thing about the Not Too Kinky is we have a system and a material that is far more kink resistant than the usual tooth-proof wire. It doesn't kink nearly as badly. So as a fly fisherman, when you're standing on the bow of that boat and you're casting day in, day out, and sometimes gale force winds and things like that, if you do hit the boat, you're not going to have to change the entire rig because you've got a kink in your leader. It's far less likely to do that, notwithstanding the fact that if you actually catch and land a fish, there's a very, very good chance with the Not Too Kinky that trace integrity is fully intact and you can go straight back into fishing without having to change the full rig. What I'm going to do now is we're just going to overlay a video to show you the differences between how your regular tooth-proof piano wire kinks in relation to how the Not Too Kinky is far more durable. All right, this is your normal piano wire, your tooth-proof piano wire, and you'll see how easily this stuff can kink. So if I were to just press that down there, boom, it's kinked. okay, which is going to affect the presentation, the sink rate, and how that artificial lure tracks in the water, which is less than ideal. Here we have the Knot2Kinky wire, which although is not completely impervious to kinks, is far more kink resistant. Okay, as you can see here, I'll try and kink it, it just reclaims its normal shape. It's very difficult to kink, and even if it does kink, it's very easy to straighten out, and that will be far less detrimental to the presentation, sink rate, and how that fly or lure tracks in the water. Right, what does one need to make these traces? So the most important thing you need, obviously, is the Scientific Anglers Knot2Kinky nickel titanium wire. For tigerfish, I tend to use 25 and 35 pound. I personally, not even with a magnifying glass, can tell the difference between the 35 pound and the 25 pound in terms of their diameter. So I tend to use 35 pound for tigerfish by virtue of the fact that slightly thicker diameter of that means that there's more surface area for the crimps to obviously latch down and less chance of slipping. But I've used 25 pound and I've never ever had that slip historically. So the most important thing you need is the Knot2Kinky titanium wire. The second most important thing you need are size 1 AFW crimps. These are the smallest crimps that you can get, and for the 25 and 35 pound wire, that's perfect. You can obviously upsize if you're going 55 pound and plus for the bigger, stronger, toothier specimens that you find in salt water. Here we've got the Mustad Fostach clips in either size 2 or size 1. Size 1 has a 25 pound breaking strain. Size 2 has a 50 pound breaking strain. I know that Rio also make Fostach clips, which are almost identical. I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually the same product, just with different labeling. If you want a little bit more peace of mind for your tigerfish, you can go with a size 2. Obviously, if you're going for bigger fish, you can go bigger. I prefer to use the size 1 for tigerfish. It's a smaller, more streamlined, more refined, less surface area means that it's going to sink a lot quicker and obviously be a lot less conspicuous to those fish. So that's the Fostach clip. And you will also need swivels. I use the size 10 because these are the smallest, least conspicuous, but again, depending on the size of the fish that you are targeting, you can upscale that accordingly. For tigerfish, I've never had that fail, and I feel that that's perfect. In terms of tools, the tools that you're going to need is you're going to need a tape measure, which is important so that you can measure or accurately measure the length of your leader, or your Knot2Kinky trace, which is very important. And there are a plethora of different crimps or crimping tools that you can use. After a lot of different trial and error and failures and things like that, I personally have found that this crimp tool available at most electrical outfitters is the best tool. Okay, it's this one I bought from AC/DC, and the tool name, as you can see there, is the HS-02H. And when I'm utilizing this tool, okay, it's called the BNC crimp tool. I use the smallest crimp, which is that circular crimp there when I'm making this crimp, but I will go through that in the step-by-step. You obviously need a pair of long nose pliers, and you need a pair of very sharp side cutters. If you have all of those tools and all of these materials, you can effectively make these wire traces. And again, a caveat from my side is that depending on the size or the specimens of the fish you are chasing, you might have to upsize all of this accordingly to match your tackle and the size of the specimens you are chasing. Right, so let's get down into a step-by-step process of actually building this knotless Knot2Kinky trace. First thing we do is take a sip of our energy drink to improve performance and cognitive function. The next thing you want to do is you want to take your Knot2Kinky wire. Okay, and what I like to do is I like to measure this out at approximately 30 centimeters. Sorry, approximately is a lie. It's exactly 30 centimeters. I'll lie this down here and I will cut this at 30 centimeters. Generally, as a rule of thumb on the Zambezi, people don't go less than 15 centimeters when putting their traces together. Again, it'll depend on the type of toothy adversary that you yourself are chasing. But I like to go 30 centimeters to start because obviously as I'm crimping and I'm cutting off tag ends, I'll be left with a trace that's in between 20 and 25 centimeters. And generally in my experience, I have had many fish over the last 10 to 12 years, as have many of my friends and fly fishing associates, come in and bite over the wire in shorter traces. So as an insurance policy, I prefer to fish a 25 centimeter wire by virtue of the fact that this is a very thin diameter, very less reflective and very less conspicuous. I have found that it makes absolutely no difference in my catch rate, and I've still managed to be significantly more successful in my catch and hookup rate than other people who are using regular toothproof wire that is shorter. So I've cut 30 centimeters here. I'm then going to take my AFR crimp or sleeve, size 1 sleeve. I'm going to thread that through. Okay. I'm going to select my Mustad Fast Attach clip. This is a size 1. I'm going to make sure that I thread this through that end there, not the other end, as such. And then I'm going to back the tag end back through the sleeve as such and run that down like that. Okay, so as you can see, very simple process thus far. I've basically just threaded the main line, which has got a sleeve on it already, through the Mustad Fast Attach clip and back through the sleeve. Now the original method would be is that we just trim the excess and we crimp that down. What I've found is that has tended to slip quite often. So what I'd like to do now at this point, you can see the tag end or the shorter piece is running parallel to the main line. I will then take this tag end, I will wrap it around the main line and thread it back through the sleeve. I'll do that with caution so I don't stab myself. Like that, and I slowly pinch this while feeding it through with my other hand as best as possible until it comes through the other end. And what I have done essentially, as you can see there, is the tag end is now looped around the main line and back through the crimp. Okay? At this point, what I will do is I will take my left hand, I will pinch the crimp very tightly, if not put my nail or my lack thereof of a nail, hold that sleeve as such. I'll take my long nose pliers, grab that tag end and very slowly start pulling it so that this loop gets significantly smaller and more compact, neater and more refined. As you can see, if you look closely, that loop is wrapped nicely around the main line, which is just going to prevent it from slipping. I do this, I try and make it as small as possible, but I'm very careful not to pull that loop in there or through the crimp. Tighten it up a tad bit more. Okay, I'm pretty happy with it there so far. What I'll do now is I will take this tag end and I will push it up at a right angle, nice, tight, secure and firm, and pinch it down tightly because it is very difficult to kink this wire, so that it lays at a right angle to that loop. Okay, at this point, I take my side cutters and I trim it down as close as I can. And then once more, I take my fingernail and I try and place my fingernail behind that loop as such. And I try to draw that loop closed or tighten up slowly, because friction is very detrimental to this rig as it is to any knots. Slow to make that loop a lot smaller, neater, and less conspicuous. And we are left with that over there. Right, now that the sleeve is set more or less in the right place, I'm going to take my crimping tool. I'm going to place that in the smallest slot. And I'm going to crimp it on one end, nice and tight. Okay, which will leave us with a crimp like that, as you can see. I'm then going to place another crimp on the other end, but from a different angle, in exactly the same slot. And I have now crimped that down, and that is nice. It is slick. This entire crimp is not flat, which historically we found used to twist the leader quite a bit. And that is a very small, very neat little notch here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the cameraman for his lighter, so I can just hold this next to the lighter to give you an idea of scale and how small that knot is, or this rig. Okay, and I'm now going to do exactly the same thing on the other end to my size 8 or size 10 swivel. Right, I've just given you guys a different camera angle so that you can see how we do that crimp method on the other side of this trace. We've just attached the Mustad Fostach clip on this side. I'm now going to attach the size 10 power swivel on the other end, doing exactly the same method. So first thing I want to do, I would like to put I'm going to slide my sleeve onto the wire. From there, I'm going to slide the wire through the size 10 power swivel. I'm going to double back the tag end, feed this through that sleeve. As you can see here, both of those lines are running parallel to one another. I'm going to turn both of them like that so that the shorter tag end is on the bottom. And I'm going to feed this shorter tag end over and around the main line and back through the sleeve. Like that. Pinching it with my right hand, pushing it through with my left slowly so that I don't stab myself while doing that. And now left with this process over here. I'm going to grab my long nose pliers, grab the tag end. I'm going to pinch the sleeve with my nail and very slowly and carefully draw that tag end through to make this loop compact, nice and tight, and as flush as possible next to the sleeve, as such. From there, I'm then going to push this tag end up at a right angle against the sleeve
do so quite hard again because it's very difficult to kink this material. I'm going to use my side cutters to cut them nice and close and flush. And now here, and once again I'm going to secure that loop with my fingernail, grab this entire trace over here. I'm going to put the Fostach clip in my long nose pliers so I don't damage the line, or the trace rather, and I'm going to slowly draw this so that that loop gets smaller and smaller and tighter and more compact. As you can see, drawing that quite a bit shorter. Okay, I'm more or less happy with that. I'm going to take this, lay it in that crimp, that first crimp over there, put it in and tighten up. Okay, as you'll see there, I've crimped the one end of the sleeve, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the sleeve over and lay another crimp at an opposing angle on the other side of that sleeve, as such. Nice and tight. And what we have here on that side is a nice and neat system. It feeds all the way through here to the Fostach clip. I will make in between 10 and 15 of these for a trip, and all you have to do at this particular stage, which I'll show you now, is attach your line onto here, which is the line that'll feed to your leader. And at this particular point, this is where you will attach your fly. So over here you have your trace. This is around 20, it's in between 20 and 25 centimeters. At this point you will attach your fly, okay, which is very easy to put on and off. All you do is you feed that on, and that is ready to fish. And at this point over here, this is what you will attach to your leader or your main line. And let's say hypothetically that this would be my leader, is I would wrap it around once, wrap it around twice, as such, and then I would do a straightforward barrel knot of around 4 turns back through both of those. Wet that, as I've applied the line through there twice, which again provides more surface area and far less chance of that swivel cutting through your main line. As I've said, this is a really strong, really robust system. It's slick. You can pre-tie a lot of these, and once you've got 10 or 15 of them, changing your fly or your lure is an absolute breeze. And I have found that when hooking on the bottom or hooking, overshooting a cast and hooking a tree on the other side, when I do need to break off, every single time I've had to put a large amount of pressure on this rig to break off, it is usually, if not always, the 25 or 30 pound fluoro which parts first, if not the hook opening. This is a very good system, and this is what we are using currently to catch tigerfish on the Zambezi.